Hi everyone, it's me, Ghost Girl, and I'm here with you guys for another video. Now, you'll notice in my dressing gown and my hair's wet. My gran has just died and I'm grieving. So, before all of you guys start commenting on the nasty comments, and
You better bet that. You better bet that. Get back here. You better bet that.
basically making a fool of me for being like this. My granny's just died and I'm grieving, so cut me some slack. Oh. My mum is shouting at the dog, as per usual. So embarrassing. Anyway, so I'm going to talk.
Right, you finished?
Jesus Christ. I'm going to talk about my grand's funeral, and I don't have much time today to talk about it because I've got to go and help clear her house. But yeah, it's really difficult to talk about, and I don't really know how to feel about this because if you watched the last video I did last time where I was talking about how my gran was basically really abusive. Yeah, so like she was really abusive to me like when I was younger, so honestly I just don't know how to feel. But in a way I am happy because now that the funeral's been, because it means I can just kind of get on and move on with my life now. Don't get me wrong, I am sad that she's away, but then part of me is relieved because I don't need to put up with the abuse anymore. So it is really difficult. Like, obviously I do love her, she was my gran, but then there was like no bond. There was like not really like a proper bond there, like what a normal daughter and granddaughter would have with their gran. It was kind of, when you think about it, it's kind of strange because normally people love their grans and their gran loves them, but like my gran didn't even like me, so and I know that she didn't like me, so it's very difficult to describe. If you have a gran that like loves you and everything, then you're the most luckiest person in the world because like my gran didn't care about me like at all. And if you do have that kind of connection, like with your gran, then you probably can't even like imagine like what I'm describing. But yeah, it's been really difficult for me. When I got up, when I was getting an outfit ready for my gran's funeral, I didn't really want to wear like a dress. Like my mum wanted me to wear a dress, but I didn't want to. And I was like, Mum, I'm not wearing a dress. And I was like, why not? It's your gran's funeral. I was like, am I like bloody 10? Like, no, I don't want to wear a dress. I think to myself, the woman like didn't even like me, so why should I really make that much of an effort for her? That was just like the mindset I had at the time. So I ended up wearing a black shirt that I'd mum bought for a previous funeral, and I wore jeans and black boots. I don't really have any kind of suit trousers because I've never have really worked anywhere where you've had to wear like suits, and I haven't worn the kind of trousers since I was at school, so I just kind of wore my jeans. And my mum made a comment about what I was wearing, saying that I was being disrespectful or whatever, but I didn't really care. And to be honest, my Auntie Lee turned up like in a pair of jeans, trainers, and a black t-shirt with the words "love" written in pink. So my mum can't really say anything about me when my auntie's turning up into like casual clothing to like a funeral. So eat your words, mama, because I didn't look that bad compared to like other folk that were there. They may as well just turned up in their normal clothes, some of these people, with the outfits they were wearing at this funeral. But when we got to the funeral and we had to meet at the house, and then we were getting like the funeral cars that the family go into, and then we go straight to the church, and then the car was going to take us from the church to the graveyard, and then from the graveyard to the hotel where we were having the wake or the tea. So when we got there, everyone was already there, and my mum was supposed to inherit a ring, but then my auntie, instead of waiting until everyone had got there and then giving them like their inheritance, she literally just gave out the rings. So my mum never got her ring, so she was pretty angry at my auntie because of that, and I don't blame her. And I was supposed to get a necklace, but my auntie made out that it wasn't there, but I did eventually find it, so I got the necklace that I was meant to get eventually, but like she's an absolute fucking idiot. Like, I would have waited until everyone was there before handing out bloody jewellery. Like, honestly, she's an arsehole, she doesn't care. So, what then happened was, we had to get into the car, and even though it was only a short drive to the church, it felt like a very, very long drive. My gran got spoilt for a funeral because, she had saved up plenty of money, so that was like a good thing. The type of wood that they use for a coffin is a thing called like rosewood, and it's like this kind of like orangey colour. And they had like kind of orange flowers, and mum and gran were in like with orange flowers to match like the kind of orangey wood. Yeah, it was really beautiful, and it was a beautiful service actually. A lot of people turned up from my granddad's side, but a lot of the Fifers didn't turn up, which I'm kind of glad at because I don't really get on with them. And the reason for that is when I was a teenager, one of my aunties for Fife invited us to her silver wedding party. So it was an anniversary party, and the party was rubbish, but that's not where the big issue comes from. So basically what happened was my mum needed somewhere to stay, and everyone else had somewhere to stay apart from my mum. Like, they didn't offer my mum a place to stay. They said to her, "Oh, you'll need to stay in a hotel." My mum got really upset, so she decided like not to go, which I wouldn't have went either. And I never had anywhere to sleep either. I had to sleep on my Auntie Kerry's sofa, but everyone else got a bed. And I thought I was getting a room, so I just packed like a t-shirt and shorts. But it wasn't until I got there that I found out that I was going to be sleeping on the sofa. So I had to like borrow my Auntie Kerry's house coat, and it was so bad. Like, so after the party, Lewis, my cousin, my Auntie Kerry's son, went and invited all of the Fifers to his house for an after party, even though he knew that I'd need to sleep in the living room that night. And my Auntie Shannon and my Auntie Margaret are both very selfish people. Like, they were sitting on the couch and they asked me like where I was meant to be sleeping, and I told them I was meant to be sleeping on that sofa that they were sitting on, and they just kind of laughed, and then they didn't leave till like the back of 4 in the morning, so about 5 in the morning, and I was absolutely shattered by this point. And all like kind of teens, we were all just kind of hanging out in Lewis's room that night, and he was being like dead creepy. My cousin, he like kept trying to put his like head in between my thighs, and I had to keep like trying to push him away. And there was a guy like sitting next to me, and I said to him, he's like creeping me out, can you get me stop? And the guy actually was shouting at him to get me stop. And then he went for my wee cousin, and he put his hands down her trousers and started touching her like behind, like her bum. And another thing that I'm really annoyed about is she was only 16, and my Auntie Claire was like going and buying her like shots, and she got really drunk and she like collapsed on Lucy's bed. And my Aunt Yvonne seen what had happened as well. And I only found this out recently because my Aunt Yvonne never told me that she seen it until recently, but I was actually shocked at like everything that happened. And then my Aunt Yvonne told like my Auntie Claire, and then my Auntie Claire came in and came into the room. She was like, "You do know that you are like all related, by the way." I was like, "I know that, Auntie Claire. Tell that to fucking creepy Bruce over there." And then like Claire told my Auntie Kelly what was going on, and my Auntie Kelly came to me and she's like, "Oh, you can't tell anyone what happened, blah, blah, blah." And I thought to myself, you absolute monster. Your son's a beast, and you're like covering up for what he did. And basically, I didn't know what to do, so I told my gran, and my gran told me not to tell anyone. And I felt to myself, no, you evil witch, I can't keep this to myself. So, but my Aunt Yvonne already knew about it, and she told me to tell my mum, so I did tell my mum. And then like everyone in like the family like knows like what happened, and this is why and then my mum was like really angry at like the Pfeiffers. And when they invited us again to another party, and I didn't really want to go. And my Auntie Margaret and my Auntie Shannon, like, turns out they knew, and they came up to my gran, my Yvonne, and was telling them that I got really drunk at the silver wedding and that I didn't know what I was talking about and blah, blah, blah. And I got so angry. I turned round and I said to them, no, Margaret, no, Shannon. I was sober and I know absolutely everything that went on that night. So didn't you try and cover up for your beast of a nephew, because I know what he did and I know what happened. And then he just started laughing, and I was like, no, yous are evil. Yous are both evil, and I want nothing to do with yous. And I literally don't. want anything to do with any of the Pfeiffers since then. And I never spoke to them at the funeral. Like, I don't know nothing to do with them because of that. But yeah, thankfully not many of them actually like turned up. So anyway, when we went to the funeral, because my granddad died during the COVID pandemic, we didn't have like a proper like service for him, so he was like included in like my gran service, like, so it was a service for my gran, but it also like mentioned him at like the same time. And I did cry like when like it mentioned the parts of my granddad, and they were like showing like pictures of my granddad and that. Like, they had a slideshow at the funeral, and it was basically showing pictures of like my gran and granddad's life, and the priest talked about my gran and granddad's life. And when it came to the parts of my granddad, I did start crying a lot, because I did like really love my granddad. And if you go to like my older videos, like round about the time that my granddad died, I have done like a lot of videos about my granddad and funny stories about my granddad and stuff like that. I did really love my granddad. But when it came to my gran, there just really wasn't a connection there. Like, don't get me wrong, she's my gran and I did love her, but there isn't really like a bond there, if you get what I mean. But like, anyway, after the actual service, went to the graveyard, and it was absolutely freezing. Like, honestly, it was unreal how cold it was. I felt like we were in Antarctica. It was so cold. All my family, like, members, like, some, well, not all of them, but some folk had to take the cord, and thankfully I wasn't like the only person that like didn't want to hang the cord. My two wee cousins were meant to do it, and they didn't want to do it, and I'm glad that they didn't have to do it, because I wasn't like very happy about them doing that. And I just remembered something actually that happened in Fife that night, that the beast assaulted my cousin. When I was getting ready the next morning, he was spying on me when I was putting my makeup on, and then I seen him looking at me, and I turned round and looked at him, and I gave him the evils, and he ran away. yeah, that's just something I remembered about that silver wedding party. Sorry, I'll get back to talking to about the funeral. Um, but yeah, so we went. I was talking about. Oh yeah, the graveyard. So we all got given like a white rose as well, and yeah, I wasn't the only one that like didn't want to do it. So my two wee cousins said that they didn't want to do it, and then my uncle Drew couldn't go because he had COVID. So I'm glad I wasn't the only one that like turned down the court, because then I would have been made to look like the bitch, like kind of thing. So yeah, then once the like coffin had been lowered into the ground, we all threw our roses into the coffin, and then we all had to like get a bit of dirt and fling a bit of dirt into the grave. I don't really know where these traditions like come from, but it's just something that they like do for funerals. And then we went into the car to get
Hey, get in here now. Oh, sorry.
anyway. So yeah, we were waiting to get into the funeral car, got into the funeral car, and then we were waiting on my Uncle Dad's, and my Uncle Dad's was taking ages, and we could kind of tell that the funeral folk were getting a little bit annoyed, especially because these people weren't on a schedule. The thing that was bizarre about when we went to the graveyard was we kind of expected like the priest to like say a few words at the graveyard, but he didn't, and it was very short. We weren't there for very long. I just thought that was odd. Thought maybe because of the weather, maybe that's why we weren't there long. But anyway, we had to go and find my Uncle Dad's, and then we all were able to get into the funeral car and head to the wake, which was in a hotel. I've got to go though, guys. There's not really much else to really talk about after that. I might do another video talking about it, but I don't really think so. I kind of just want to get on with life now and move on with my life and just get back to creating normal content, because as good as this is for me, talking about stuff like this, it kind of makes me like really upset, like at the same time. So I'm gonna like go and leave now. I'm sorry like this video was like so late, but I've just been like an emotional wreck right now with like everything that's going on. But like anyway, I'm gonna go now, guys. So I'll see you later. Goodbye, my spooky children.